Let's call it like it is, as we do on this show. Procrastination is a destructive addiction that silently erodes our potential, our dreams, our opportunities. It's an insidious thief of time, robbing us of precious moments we can never reclaim, robbing us of energy that we can't get back. And we have to recognize that procrastination is a cunning saboteur of our success. And notice I'm saying our, because as you hear at the top of my show in the opening, I am a procrastinator. That is a fear-based response that I get into. And I have a lot of tools to help manage it, which is why I'm doing this episode for all of my fellow procrastinators. But first, we have to start by admitting it really is a problem, and the level of cost it is creating on our lives in order for us to move forward from here. What up, my people, my posse, my fellow crazies? It's your host, Tiffany Carter, and this is the show that is going to help you grow your business, your bank account, that big, beautiful brain of yours, your abundance, your relationships, and everything in between. I have a humble pie story for you, which is what prompted me to create this episode on the addiction of procrastination and how to quit. I do have one or two other podcast episodes that you can scroll and find on procrastination. And that would be good if you really identify this as being a true barrier between you having what it is you want in life: money, freedom, fulfillment, peace of mind, option level cash, happiness. I want you to binge all of them, but I have never called procrastination an addiction before. And I never realized it was until I got whacked very hard with it. And I'm going to get into that story. But first, I want to share a stat with you because I did research for this episode. So according to a study published in Psychological Science, procrastination affects up to 20% of the global population. So that's a lot. And that's just the people who've reported and identify and having it. The American Psychological Association reports that chronic procrastination can result in lower job performance, decreased income, and reduced career success. I mean, I think that's kind of obvious. This next one, though, isn't as obvious, but it makes sense that procrastination is linked to increased levels of stress, anxiety, and depression. And universities have found that procrastinators are more likely to suffer from mental health issues. And the story I'm going to share with you can attest to all of these things. And it's a sneaky motherfucker, this procrastination thing, as are all addictions. So I'm not sure how familiar you are with like the definition of an addiction, but I have a really simple one for you because you can be addicted to anything. As I've shared before, I'm in a recovery program for being addicted. We say people, places, and things, but I was addicted to exercise. I was addicted to work, and I was addicted to fixing other people, being caught up in other people's stuff. So you can be addicted to shopping, you can be addicted to scrolling, you can be addicted to gaming, you can be addicted to relationships, you can be addicted to porn. I even have someone in one of my recovery programs that is addicted to energy drinks, like an extreme caffeine addiction. You can be even addicted to certain types of foods. I've said on here, and people think it's funny, but like I definitely have like a low grade ice cream addiction, and it sounds silly, but like when this is how you know there's an addictive quality, like addictive red flags, so to speak, of any of your behaviors, vices, habits that you might just laugh it off, or other people may laugh it off about you. But here's how you can tell the difference. Is this thing that you do, is this thing you get fixated on, does it rob you of spiritual connection? Does it rob you physically? Meaning, does it suck your energy? Does it rob you of time? Does it rob you of relationships in life? Does it prevent you from following through and fulfilling your goals and even your requirements and, so to speak, like obligations, whether it's career or it's personal? That's when you know. And I'm going to give you examples so you can see, like, how could procrastination rob you spiritually? How could procrastination really rob you physically unless you're procrastinating on going to the gym? Well, that's why addiction is so manipulative and cunning, because it's slowly robbing you of these things. And then your addictive mind now tells you it's really not. Well, I don't always procrastinate. Maybe, yeah, I do procrastinate, but it's like not causing as much issue as some people might think it is. We go into denial, we make excuses for it. And if you know you have something that is debilitating to the greater good of your life, whether that's your health, whether that's your wealth, and you are not taking it seriously and prioritizing doing something about it, my guess is it's an addiction. You're also getting a payoff for it. And this actually comes from, of all people, Dr. Phil. So I used to come home every day from being, when I was in corporate life, being in the field in sales. I was in pharmaceutical sales. I think he was on at 4 o'clock in LA, and Oprah was on at 3. So it was like a double header. And I love Dr. Phil. I still like Dr. Phil. And I remember a lesson he shared that will always stick with me, that he said to a guest. And it was on one of his earlier shows. And there was, I think it was a guest who was like a sex addict, right? It was like ruining his marriage and like couldn't stop himself. And he flat out said, well, you're getting something out of it. You're getting a payoff for it, because no one does anything on repeat over and over again if you're not getting something out of it. And the guy was like, no, it's ruining my marriage. It's ruining my relationship with my kids. I hate myself for it. And Dr. Phil's like, yes, I agree. All those things are happening, but you're getting a payoff at the same time. It's an and, not an or. You're getting a payoff, and it's causing all of this destruction of self and of others. So what payoff are you getting? It could simply be in the moment. And that's the first thing I want you to look at here, is what is that payoff? And I'm going to answer these for myself in using a story that recently happened to me. I feel really extra vulnerable sharing this, and I share a lot of stuff with you guys. I think I feel extra vulnerable about sharing this because I'm still a little shooketh, and there's probably a little shame in there still that I need to work through. But I digress. So there is a project that I've been working on. It's my new guided workbook course that's coming out, which is Make More and Work Less. And this is my first piece of, so to speak, writing that will be for sale. And there's going to be like a big fun sale for it to start and all these things. And everyone's been wanting me to write a book. And I've been wanting me to write a book. In fact, I started writing a book in the pandemic, and I got 70% of the way through, and I didn't finish it, and all sorts of stuff came up. And so one of my tricks with procrastination is anything we get stuck on, maybe we're trying to take too big of a bite. And if you've ever done that with food, you're like, okay, I need to like not try to swallow this, or I could, and then I'll choke, or I can spit this out and start over again. This often happens to me when I order sushi and I try to put the whole thing in my mouth. That sounded really sexual, but I digress. And one of my solutions is, okay, that was too big of a bite for me right now. just right now. So, what would be a smaller bite that I could take that I could actually accomplish? Because what happens is if we keep going after bigger bites, whether it's this really long to do list, or we set too big of goals for weight loss or too big of goals for money for our business, and it sounds so good at the time and you can get a high from even setting them. This is why I want everyone to be so careful when it's like New Year time or even like around your birthday or a new moon, because it can feel really exciting. I've done it too, where it's like, I'm going to do this next month. I'm going to do this in my next year of life. I'm going to do this during this new moon season. I'm going to, you can feel all excited and high and get a dopamine high from it, which is great, but none of it matters if you don't execute on any of it or you only half-ass it. In fact, that's hurting you more. I would rather you take a smaller bite of something that you truly are being honest with yourself, that it's something you would accomplish, even if you're like, well, of course I'll accomplish it. And you have a tendency to want to take even a bigger bite. No, I'd rather you set yourself up for success than for you to set yourself up to where you don't follow through, because now it's going to keep up with the narrative. Now it's a self-fulfilling prophecy. I never follow through. I never finish. I don't complete things. I'm a loser. I'm a failure. I'm a piece of shit, whatever goes through your head. So I was like, okay, I could do a workbook. I love workbooks, and that is not as much writing, and I'm not telling my full life story, although there is a abbreviated version of some of my story from abuse to abundance in there. Okay, so I did peel off some of the Band-Aid with that, but it's not the full multi-chapter thing. Okay, this is like a 3-section workbook. Okay, let's fast forward from that. So that's great. I said that. Now it comes time to do it. And I did all the things around it. So it's kind of like when you give a kid their full plate of food and there's like all the shit you want them to eat. And then there's like the thing in the center that for sure they'll eat. Let's say it's like the pasta. And then around it is like the broccoli, and you have spinach or something like that. And you're like, well, you've got to eat some of the greens. And we have to treat ourselves like kids and like teenagers in many ways, because that's where procrastination is rooted from. If your procrastination is coming from a point of like rebellion, which some of you it is, mine is for sure. And that's something I just realized because I was forced to start working at age 8 and I was given age inappropriate chores. I would wake up every morning, almost every morning, there would be a typed, like on a fucking typewriter, there would be a typed letter on my mom's company letterhead with all the chores and things I had to do before I could ever go play or have fun. And the list was always so long. And I could tell by most of the lists, most of the time, there was no way I would ever finish it, to be able to go to the mall with my friends, to be able to make the sleepover, to be able to do the thing. And I like woke up so defeated. And so procrastination for me is like that inner teenager kind of rebelling against her, like, fuck you. Like, I'm not going to do this. I can lay around all day if I want to and not do anything. But if we let a teenager or we let a child run the show in our lives, it's not going to end well. That's when we see people where I call them, there's a lot of them here at the beach, man children, where they never really grow up and they never really follow through and do much adulting. And that's a choice. You could remain a woman child, a man child, and not really do the adulting, but it would be insane to think you're going to get the results and build the life that you want and have the freedom that you want if you're not willing to do some of these adulting moves. I got off on a little bit of a tangent there, but we're not that surprised. Also, are you watching this on Project Me TV? Because I'm really here for this robe and nail combo. This is life. And I just got out of the shower. This is what you get. And if you are someone who wants to follow along while watching me and then typing in comments at the same time, if that's a really helpful learning style for you and it keeps you focused, I highly recommend going over to Project Me TV. The link is in the show notes if you swipe up. Also, I've added there's 7 spots, but now there's only 5 left. So I've added some spots to my famous Project Me Posse business coaching membership. It was already full, and I had to take a look and go, can I, in integrity, increase the size of this membership a little bit in making sure everyone's still going to get attention and support, and it's not going to become one of these memberships that's like thousands and thousands of people where there's no accountability. And I determined yes. So you want this? This is, no one does this. You know why? Because it's fucking insane that I do it. Only an overgiver would do this, but it's actually paid off for me. It's strategically designed to teach you everything you need to know in order to cash in on your talents, gifts, and passions and skills online so you can make more money while working less. So I have a yearly membership option. That's the best value. But I also offer a month-to-month option. That option's only $3.33 a day. It's for my commitment folks. All the details are on the page. And if the posse's full, because it might be full by the time I'm even saying this, it'll say it at the top of the page when you go in. And I don't know when the next time it'll open. People have to leave the membership in order for spots to open, or I have to decide to open up more spots, which I'm not going to be doing after this, okay, for at least quite some time. So you can go to projectmewithtiffany.com/Project Me Posse. Description in YouTube, swipe up. It's in the show notes. So go do that. If you have not downloaded yet my Fall into Abundance guided walking meditation series, that's a free gift for you right now. And let me tell you, you want to change your money story and you want to get into that abundant zone and flip back in there when you're in fear, when you're spiraling, when you're procrastinating. This is a solid move. And it's actually something I call mindful procrastination, which we're going to get into. And that would be a great example of it. Okay. I'm sweating, by the way, in this robe. It's like I really wanted to wear it for you guys today. And I was all fresh as a daisy from the shower. And now I am profusely sweating under it. And there's nothing I can do because I'm not wearing clothes under the robe. So such is life. All right. So with this workbook thing and this whole analogy I've given around the vegetables on the plate, I worked with my brand manager on the actual like sales page for it, like where you go and buy it and the copy for it. I had a photo shoot for the workbook. So I did all these things that felt fun and felt easy to me first. And that's okay. That's still forward momentum. So that's an option for you, right? Like you can eat the dessert first. You can eat the pasta first. Some people, when they get food delivered to them at a restaurant, which I'm always blown away by these people. Like, let's say you get like a turkey burger and fries and they start eating the fries right away. I am so trained from my childhood. Well, first of all, I was rarely ever allowed to eat fries because I was raised by an anorexic. Thank you. I think it's crazy. I can't eat the fries till I have bites of the turkey burger first. Have the fucking fries first. Have the brownie sundae first. Because at least you're getting stuff done. But here's what happened. I know to do that. Okay. It's a procrastination trick of mine. So, okay, I did all that, but then it got to the point where the dessert's gone, the fries are gone, the carbs are gone. And I had to get the copy of the workbook over to my people who make shit look pretty for me. Cause I don't know how to make things look. I'm not a Canva gal. I don't know how to make things look pretty. And I was like, I have writer's block. I can't do it this weekend. I'm too tired. I can't think clearly. I have too much stuff going on. I don't feel well. And I just kept going with it. And a week went by, then another week went by, and then another week went by. And then I decided, you know what? I want to turn this not just into a workbook. I want to make it a full like guided course with videos. And so what? That's fine. But the workbook copy still needed to be done. And I was sitting there trying to figure out what is going on here. What's happening? Why is this stalling me? And that is something I want you to do in the first step of mindful procrastination is Be aware you're procrastinating. Don't be nasty with yourself. Shaming ourselves, beating ourselves up only keeps you in a low vibration, which will make you procrastinate more. It'll put you in like a freeze trauma response. So I talked to that inner teenager. I talked to that inner child. Like, what is going on, sweetie? Why are we procrastinating like this? What's going on? And my inner child, she's like, I'm scared. I'm scared people are going to think it's basic. I'm scared that people aren't going to find it helpful. I'm scared that people like are going to be like, oh my God, Tiffany is a terrible writer. I'm scared that, I put it out and then there's going to be something in there that doesn't jive with someone and it's not in my wheelhouse. And I'm scared, I'm scared, I'm scared, I'm scared, I'm scared. So I needed to talk to her. And like I said, procrastination is fear in disguise. So it's no wonder she's scared. And I had to speak to her like, it's okay. We're taking a bite size. We're starting. It's a digital workbook. We're not doing the printed version on Amazon yet. So if there is some kind of a spelling error, grammatical error, you want to add something or you forgot something, you still can. You can update it. It's okay. And people aren't coming to you because you're an award winning, world renowned writer. They're coming to you for your intellectual property, for your heart, because you know how to amass great wealth doing something that you love while prioritizing your health and well-being. And they want to learn how to do that. And they want to learn how to do that from you, from someone who resonates from them, from someone who makes them laugh, from someone who's relatable, from someone who's whack as fuck. And they already know how silly and quirky and crazy you are. So it's not going to be news to them. And it's like, can we at least do one page? So I had to negotiate with her. But that's not what really shooketh me, because I did get myself to do it, right? By talking to her and by asking myself the question of what payoff am I getting by continuing to procrastinate on something that I know I have to deliver? And I don't want you staying in that figuring it out stage with it, because that's also an addictive brain thing. It's like, oh, well, once I figure it out, I'll miraculously stop. No, you won't. It's just knowledge. No, you got to take contrary action. That's what works. Contrary to what your nervous system, what your brain, even what your heart wants you to do, you have to take that contrary action. You'd figuring it out. It's interesting, but you might not know why. And you don't have to know why to move through it. We are naturally hardwired to keep ourselves safe and secure. So if you're afraid of doing something, even if it's irrational, even if your higher self knows it doesn't make sense, your body is still trying to protect you from perceived danger and doing things that are new to us, that are unfamiliar, that are foreign to us, stuff we've never done before. That reads to our system as dangerous, as risky, and as unsafe. This is why so many people, and many of you listening, haven't taken the risk, are only toe dipping in your business, aren't doing the thing, or aren't doing it consistently, or half-assing it. Because going the full way reads so scary to your nervous system. So if you don't address that, and if you don't talk to it, and you don't keep yourself regulated, there's no fucking way you're going to follow through. If you just let your mind and your body and even your heart go unmanaged, you're going to stay in a comfort zone. You're going to stay in what's familiar, even if the familiar is you being broke, even if the familiar is you settling for mediocre, even if the familiar is you being in a mind-numbing job, even if the familiar is something that you absolutely hate, it will work to keep you in the familiar, because the familiar reads as safe. So we got that out of the way. And I got her to start writing. I was like, let's at least start writing one page, or let's at least do this for an hour. And I gave myself permission that I could stop at any minute. And normally I know to do that because once you start getting on a roll, you'll keep going. I do a very similar when it comes to working out. It's like, okay, well, just go for 10 minutes. And if after 10 minutes you're over it, you can leave. But usually you get some kind of endorphin in there, or you at least say to yourself, I didn't waste this gym outfit, this cute fitness outfit for nothing. Where I got shooketh in this was after I finished the copy for this workbook. It felt like, as my friend Andrea said, like I took the most giant shit after being constipated for months. I felt lighter. I felt like I could breathe. I slept better. And that's when I realized, holy fuck. And then the next day, felt the same thing, very light, very free, very expansive. And then the next day, and I went, oh my God, look at all I've been holding on to by procrastinating. I've been in a state of anxiety. I've got to do this thing, but now I'm not doing this thing because I don't feel like I can do this thing, but I have to do this thing. I was in a constant state of perpetual stress by either guilting myself because I didn't do it, shaming myself for procrastinating, or having anxiety about needing to do it, and then building some case that it's going to be so hard. And I lived like this for several weeks. And I went, oh my God, I can't do this to myself anymore. How cruel. No wonder my body's so inflamed. No wonder my allergies flared. No wonder I felt so run down. No wonder I've been kind of snippy. No wonder I've not been sleeping. No wonder I've been craving carbs. So I want you to take a look at the things that you finally accomplished that you were procrastinating on. How did you feel after you finished it? Whether it was taxes, whether it was reviewing a contract, whether it was posting the damn thing, whether it was organizing your closet, whether it was making sure you completed however many workouts you said you were going to do that week. How does it feel? If I already know what your answer is, it feels fucking great. You feel empowered. 99.9% of the time you go, oh, I made it out to be like so major, and it was actually easier than I thought. Even some things that seem like tedious and hard, like I had a lot of adulting things in the last 2 weeks that weren't fun. They just had to be done. And I procrastinated on those too. When I added it up, they took, okay, let's just say they took 6 hours of time. But how many hours did I spend putting my body and my nervous system and my GI tract and my brain and everything in full stress, shame, and anxiety and guilt by not doing it? Weeks, months, even. Seriously. So I want you to look at how you feel after you've done things, because you've all completed things that you've procrastinated on. And what is it causing in your body? Whatever it is you're procrastinating on right now. What is it causing in your body? What is it costing you energetically? What is it costing you mentally? What is it costing you physically to stay in this state? This is why I'm saying this is an addiction, because think of someone who's an alcoholic. Shout out to my sober people in the audience. Alcoholism. No alcoholic wants to fucking drink. None of them do. I talk to many of them at different stages in recovery. They don't want to. And they hate that they do it. They're in shame and guilt that they do it, which makes them do it more. And they stay in this perpetual cycle. And then they build up a case. It's going to be so hard to stop. And I'm not saying it's not difficult to stop, but with the right support, it's actually not as brutal as the disease will make it out to be. So you don't want to procrastinate. Who the fuck would want to do something like that? Of course not. So take a look at that. It is an addiction. It's a disease. It's a disease of fear when you really peel it back. Fear of being judged, fear of not being accepted, fear of failure, fear of success, fear of being seen, fear of being exposed, fear of people seeing like, oh, that you're a fraud or you're an idiot or you don't know what you're doing, fear of your thing that you've always wanted to do not really working. Then that means you have to go get a real job. That's what it's all rooted in. And I want you to speak to that fear. So, this mindful procrastination, I want you to have a loving assessment of what's going on, speak to that inner child, inner teenager, where it's coming from, talk to him or her, and take a look at, like Dr. Phil said, what's your payoff? What are you getting? It's a temporary payoff. You're putting yourself in like a cortisol, dopamine fucking cycle, which is no different than being addicted to cocaine, porn, gambling, shopping, gaming, you name it. You get the instant hit of dopamine by letting yourself off the hook by saying, I'll do it tomorrow, I'll do it Monday, da 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 da. It's like like someone just injected you with some good old Xanax. And then what happens when it comes time to do the thing the next morning, or Monday comes around, or whenever you said you were going to do it next month or in the new year? Now you've got the stress hormone cortisol is surging. Now you've got that. And then in order to manage that, now you take the Xanax. It's like Xanax cocaine, Xanax cocaine, Xanax cocaine, which, by the way, for all of my doctors who listen to the show, those are contraindicated to be used together. And this is how most people die. And I'm not joking. You are killing yourself with your internal drugstore with procrastination. This is a real addiction. And like I told you, I can even see it in my face right now as I'm recording the video portion of this podcast for YouTube. I can see the inflammation. That's my big tell. Do I have a pumpkin head, or is my face kind of snatched? I can see that the inflammation is so down, and the only thing that has changed, it's not been my diet. It's not been more workouts. It's not been apple cider vinegar. It's certainly not Ozempic. It's that I took that stressor came off. Another mindful procrastination you could do is, like I said earlier, go do my Fall into Abundance guided walking meditation. Because at least you're doing something that's going to get you back into the abundance zone, which is a much higher likelihood that you'll actually not procrastinate, because you're regulating your nervous system. So if you're going to procrastinate, at least procrastinate by doing something to regulate your nervous system, not something that's like online shopping, doom scrolling, Netflix binging. Go do something that's mindful, and it won't feel as bad. At least you know you're working in the right direction. Okay. This other trick, and this works very well for me. This is truly why I have millions in the bank. Straight up. It would not be on my own accord, because that scared little girl in me, that scared teenager Tiffany, one of my main fear behaviors is overthinking, overanalyzing, procrastination. And I have to manage that if I want what's on the other side of it. And I do. And what I do obviously works. You got to use the power of money to get your ass to show up. I pay coaches. I pay people on my team. I pay contract workers, like project workers, in order to get me to show up, because I'm spending concrete cash, and I don't pay for anyone who's like low grade. Okay. I pay high quality people, which costs more coin. Some things you can get away with paying less. And I let you guys know that in my posse membership, what those things are, but majority of things, 80% of tasks are high grade, or it ends up costing you more. You don't want a watered down version of a person, right? Like watered down laundry detergent isn't going to get your clothes as clean. even though you're going to pay less money for the detergent, but you're going to end up paying more when it comes into washing the clothes and how the clothes feel on you, etc. So I pay people so I show up. Pay an editor that's going to review the book. I have I have 3 coaches now. Okay. So I have business life coach, I have a subconscious mindset coach, and I have a fitness coach. You best believe I'm showing up and following through with my deliverable because there's enough money on the line that I would feel like an asshole not showing up. And I wouldn't want to disrespect the person and I would be embarrassed. So it's not just picking someone who costs a certain amount of money for a thing. It needs to be someone that you respect, that you know will hold to boundaries and call you out with love because they want the best for you, that you should hire. So I have my therapist. I mean, I have a whole pit crew of people that will lovingly call me out and sometimes just straight up call me out of what's going on. And the people who work for me are required to do that as well. And I have to give them permission to do that, understandably, because I need a nudge and then that gets me to show up. So what is it that's going to get you to show up? I can tell you right now, money is a powerful energy. And if you don't want to lose it, and if you don't want to waste it, and if you're getting a loan for it or you're putting credit cards on it, your ass is going to show up. If someone told you, hey, this like third cousin of yours died and left you $10,000, and you're like, God, I didn't even know this cousin, and you knew it was legit, but you had to fly, I don't know. I mean, let's say you had to fly across the country, whatever country you're living in. You had to fly across the country to get the check. They couldn't mail it for some reason. She had to sign like a document in person to get it. For even 10 grand, even those of you listening who make 10 grand easily in a day like me, you best believe for 10 grand, your ass is booking a flight, moving around appointments, and prioritizing flying to sign the thing to get this check from your third cousin. Am I right? So you'll do all of that for that 10 grand. Well, wouldn't you do the same for you spending the 10 grand in order to get the return on investment, in order not to waste it? So use that power of money. This is why a lot of people join my Project Me Posse, and it's all relative. Where you're at right now, $100 a month might be enough, or maybe you need to do my year option because now you're locked in for a year. That's why I added that, because I know that it sends a signal to your brain of your level of commitment. I already have people waitlisted for working with me privately in January. I'm absolutely full now. So if you missed the boat on that, you can get waitlisted if approved for January, but you're going to have to put down 50% of the first month in order to guarantee your spot for that. These spots go really quickly. So what's it going to be? What do you need to do in order to make yourself show up even when you don't want to? It's not enough to have friends. I don't feel it's enough to even have a therapist. You need to have people that you're paying that there's a set deadline date in there of, I'm launching this thing on this date, or I want to fit into this dress by this time period, or I want to make sure that before the end of the year, I start bringing in noticeable money on my business. And if you really mean that, if it's in your own head and all you're doing is reinforcing it to yourself, it means nothing, because your disease can change that and make up a story. Share it publicly. We see this a lot with people doing like weight loss journeys or health journeys. They'll start accounts just for that, for the accountability. What did I do with my workbook course coming out? I did a whole giveaway for it. I shared publicly. I would never not deliver on something I offered. So oftentimes I share about something that's coming and share about it in detail, and the fucking thing isn't finished yet. Because for me, my main core value at the top of the list is integrity. My actions and words match. And I would never say that I have something coming and not have it coming unless there's some wild circumstance for it. So that also lights a fire under my ass and gets me to show up in spite of the fear, in spite of the terror, in spite of me being frozen. It gets me out of my own way. If I didn't do all of these things, I would not have millions in the bank. And I know it might be hard for some of you to believe who are new to me. So shout out to my new listeners. We are top 15 in the world in the business entrepreneurship category. And we even hit 177 out of all categories worldwide, which is wild. That's incredible. Thank you so much for sharing the show and leaving reviews. It really helps the show grow. And I hope you appreciate just the rawness and the fucking realness of the show. Aren't you so tired of these like motivational, I don't know, business expert, rich people? I don't even think they realize they're doing it. I just don't think they have the palate to be vulnerable. I think they all just sound alike. It doesn't work for me. I need to know you're a little fucked up for me to relate to you, to be quite honest. I need to know you're a little crazy in order for me to buy into it. Because some of these people they don't procrastinate, right? They don't overthink. They're super type A. And therefore, I would create the story of, well, I'm not all those things, so I can't have what they have. I think you're starting to see really quickly, I have a lot of stuff I have to manage, even to keep me upright in a day, not including manage both of my businesses and be there to support all of you and my clients. And this is what we have to do. I have an addiction. My procrastination is a disease. It's as the result of me having complex PTSD. It's understandable why I have it. Sitting there psychoanalyzing the why and figuring it out is not going to make it better. What's going to make it better is doing these things I shared with you. Is doing the mindful procrastination, is doing the smaller bite moves, is reminding yourself of how it feels to be done with the thing. I do it for the after. This is a common line I've said for years. And I always really said it about the gym. I never feel like working out ever. I don't give a fuck what kind of workout it is. I'm a naturally lazy person. But I always say I'm doing it for the after. I love how I feel after. I love the buzzy feeling. Even if I'm feeling tired, like today, I felt a little nauseous after my workout. But I didn't feel anxious. I was proud of myself for doing it. I felt empowered. I had a little tiny bit of like a mental buzz from it. We got to do it for the after, but sink into that, spend some time visualizing on how it will feel to finish the thing, how it will feel to follow through with your promise and your commitment to yourself and to your audience and to your loved ones. How is it going to feel knowing that? And that's what you're doing it for. If you're waiting to feel like it, you're fucked. It's not going to happen. You're not going to want to feel like it because, again, your body and brain and even your heart are hardwired to protect you, to keep you safe, to keep you comfy, to keep you confined in a little safe, little precious jewelry box. So you're never going to feel ready. You're never going to feel like it. It's never going to happen. So that's part of the diseased mind and procrastination is, I'm going to wait till I feel like it. And I fell into it. I told myself this about this fucking workbook, that I had to like have inspiration and sentences of only the most profound people would ever write that had to be in my mind. And I had to feel some type of way. And none of those ways ever came. And then what happens? A week goes by, another week goes by, the anxiety, the guilt, and the shame increases. And then that weighs your energy down more. And then you have less energy. Now your energy is even so low and your vibration so low. So then you end up procrastinating more. It's what I told you here is going to work. I really would love to hear from you. If you're watching on YouTube, put it in the comments. Let me know if this was a refreshing, honest take on procrastination that shooketh you. leave a 5-star written podcast review on Apple. That's the only platform you can leave a written review. If you're a Spotify listener, tap the 5 stars. That's still very helpful. And I'm very grateful for that. You can also shout the show out on social media and tag at Project Me with Tiffany. I love resharing your posts, where you guys are when you're listening, where you're listening doing the abundance walks. That's also fun. And other people love seeing it. They delight in seeing that. It's really helpful when other people see even strangers following through on things that are normally difficult. Maybe that's one way you keep yourself accountable, is by, you can post shit you're following through with, even if it's the mindful procrastination, and tag me. I don't mind. And I'll share some of them. You don't have to be a paying client of mine to do that, although I highly recommend joining the posse. That would be a smart move, because you get weekly live trainings and you have that accountability. Wishing you guys great health, wealth, and worth as always. Love you.